Please come closer, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. So we are continuing with the discussion on Asbab al-Nuzūl, causes of revelation of ayat, and what are some beautiful lessons we can learn from this. And we had started off with Minhajuddin fi ulūm al-Qur'an, a book on the Quranic sciences that speaks about a chapter on Asbab al-Nuzūl, causes of revelation. So those brothers who are still speaking, request them to proceed towards the lobby and continue conversations in the lobby, and so that those who are inside can benefit, inshallah. Likewise, on the sister side, if you are speaking, please proceed out of the main hall so those who are listening among the sisters can benefit, inshallah. So this has been mashallah, a session we have on this Saturday. I see new faces. We've been talking about Asbab al-Nuzūl, the context, beyond the text, the different circumstances that led to the revelation of ayat. I'm not going to review this, but I'm just saying that this is a reminder for us, if we are just coming in or tuning in tonight or here, that there are a lot of beautiful points that we can learn, that we have been covering from the beginning till this ninth night. Alhamdulillah. Different ahadith that pertain to these ayat, different stories, different words of wisdom of our scholars of tafsir, and we are now, we had covered the different questions that are posed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and their responses. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about tonight are what are some of the benefits? What are some of the benefits of this entire discussion? So Allama Qastalani rahmatullah alayhi, he says that زَعَمَ بَعْضُ النَّاسِ أَنَّهُ لَا فَائِدَةَ لِلْإِلْمَامِ بِأَسْبَابِ النُّزُولِ. Some people who do not have understanding, they think that what's the point of this entire discussion? وَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْدُ أَن تَكُونَ تَارِيخًا لِلنُّزُولِ. That this is just some history. We can go ahead and understand the Quran as is, right from the text. Why do we need to know all of this history? وَقَدْ أَخْطَأَ فِي مَا زَعَمَ. This is a very major mistake in their understanding. فَإِنَّ لِلْأَسْبَابِ النُّزُولِ فَوَائِدَ مُتَعَدِّدَةً. So the Asbab al-Nuzul, in learning the causes of revelation, there are many, many benefits. La fa'ida wahida. It's not just one benefit. There are many benefits of learning. So we're going to cover a few of them. The first one he mentions is معرفة حكمة الله تعالى على التعيين فيما شرعه بالتنزيل. Meaning, the first benefit is what is we learn, we have the ability to learn with certainty, yani as opposed to speculation. As he says, معرفة حكمة الله تعالى على التعيين. على التعيين means we can be certain instead of having to speculate what is the specific wisdom behind what Allah Ta'ala has ordained through this revelation. Meaning, if we know the story behind the revelation, then we do not have to pick our mind and try to imagine what perhaps could be the hikmah, what perhaps could be the wisdom behind this revelation. By learning the story behind the revelation, we will specifically have that knowledge, ala ta'ayin, specifically know with certainty, this is the wisdom behind this ayah. So what that tells us is that, as we covered in the beginning, there are some ayat that Asbab al-Nuzul are mentioned, and there are many ayat for which the Asbab al-Nuzul is not mentioned. Where it is not mentioned, then the scholars, they come up with, they try to their best ability to determine what potentially could have been the wisdom behind this ruling. And they keep it in its proper place. They don't say for sure this is the purpose. They say these are possible reasons. These are possible benefits behind the ahkam. I remember just when I said possible reasons, it reminded me of a title of a book it was written back in the 70s. Some of the seniors here may remember Dr. Ahmed rahmatullah alayh. He was a student from Lebanon in the 1950s and 60s. He came to America, and in Champaign he was doing his PhD in nutrition and food science. And he was a student, and they started in the 1960s in Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois. The first Muslim Student Association, MSA, was born. And then he was actually from Lombard. His foundation was in Lombard. And thereafter, when they graduated and they started working, then it was still called MSA. Then they said, we can't call ourselves Muslim Student Association because we're not students anymore, we have not graduated. So then those same individuals formed ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. So he wrote a book as his subject matter that he was an expert in, he had a PhD in, was nutrition and food. It was possible reasons for the prohibition of pork. I remember it because there's so many P's in the title. Possible reasons for prohibition of pork. So he talks about, like, from a scientific perspective, what are the harmful effects of consuming pork. All right. So this is something that is not explicitly mentioned in the Quran. If there was, for example, some story that happened of somebody who consumed pork that had parasites in it because it wasn't cooked, as they say, it has to be cooked properly, but there's no way you can cook it properly that makes it consumable for us. But from their perspective, they say, okay, you have to, if you're roasting the ham, you have the thermometer, inner core of should reach so many degrees to ensure that, the harmful things are killed off. And then somebody got sick, and then Allah Ta'ala revealed, look, no, this is why it's haram. There's no story of that nature. It is just mentioned by Allah Ta'ala about khinzir, about pork, about swine. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. So this is just an example came to my mind now, that since there is no Sabāb al-Nuzūl, we have no option but to resort to speculation. Is that something wrong per se? No, it only will become wrong if you forcefully say that this is for sure the reason. Right? And bil jazmi wal yaqeen, with certainty. You cannot do so when Allah Ta'ala did not say. And sometimes we have problems with this approach. What happens is that if somebody, based on the current understanding of science, they come up with a particular theory and they say this is the reason why the ruling is the way it is. But afterwards, through further research, if it's proven that that particular scientific understanding was incorrect, then people will say, oh, the whole basis of the ruling is incorrect. The Quran is incorrect, na'udhu billah. No, it isn't. That was someone's own understanding of why the ruling is the way it is. Right? Like I gave the example before in the past year, but it's been a while, about Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, that it's only Allah who knows what is in the fetus. So people took that interpretation because the biggest question when a person becomes pregnant or a woman becomes pregnant, we don't have to say a person becomes pregnant, as is because now it's not woke now. In the Trump era, we can say a woman became pregnant. So when if a woman becomes pregnant, then we say that subhanallah, what the biggest question is it a boy or a girl? So that's why, when you buy those gifts, it just says it's a boy on the balloon or it's a girl. That's the biggest thing. So based on our understanding, we said only Allah Ta'ala knows. Then when the ultrasound came, people said, we can determine that as well. So why is it that Allah Ta'ala says that إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمَ السَّاعَةِ وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثَ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. In the end of Surah Luqman. So the answer would be that, Allah Ta'ala did not mention gender. He said, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. Ma is am, means general, inclusive of everything. So He knows everything about what's of the fetus that is developing. When will it be born, and what its weight will be, and all the physical, and how long it will live, and how much it will eat, and how much it will drink, and how much it will earn. And is it more important than all of this, more important than boy or girl? Is it shaqiyun sa'id? Is it a wretched or fortunate? Is it khushbakht or badbakht? Is it shaqi? Is badbakht, means it is wretched soul, and sa'id is nekbakht, meaning has beautiful fortune and is beloved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the biggest question. Ashaqiyun am sa'idun. And every minute aspect of his entire existence, Allah Ta'ala knows. And the ultrasound can sometimes make mistakes. Allah Ta'ala will never make a mistake. An ultrasound can find out only after so many weeks not from the beginning. Allah Ta'ala knows if you want to go with the gender also, Allah Ta'ala knows the gender from the beginning. Meaning from the beginning of what? Right from conception? No, not from conception. Not from before the parents were married, or from before the parents even met. Before the parents were born, Allah Ta'ala knew the gender of their baby. Before the grandparents, great-grandparents were born, before Adam a.s. was born, before the dunya was created, before the heavens and earth existed, back from the time Allahu kana wa lam yakun ma'ahu shay, when Allah existed and nothing existed besides Him, He already knew back then what the gender was going to be. There was no ultrasound and there was no human being. He knew the gender a long time ago. So there's no comparison. In any case, if we know the Safa and Nuzūl, we can specifically say what the hikmah behind the ruling is. We talked about the hurma of khinzir, all right? So swine, and there's also wine and swine. So an example here given is about the prohibition of wine. As he said here, وحسبك شاهدا على هذا تحريم الخمر وما نزل فيه وقد مر بك في البحث السابق فلا نعيده ولا تغفل. He says, look, the whole discussion about the hurmat of khamr, of the prohibition of wine, how it was revealed over 3 stages, all of those ayat we have covered in the previous discussion. So don't forget about it. لا تغفل. And in those stories, what did we learn? The wisdom behind alcohol being prohibited was how it يخامر العقل الخمر يخامر العقل, that drinking wine, it affects one's perception of reality, and a person will end up making mistakes, and there is so many harms of it. As Allah Ta'ala mentions, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. The harms of alcohol far exceed the benefits. So it talks about the harms, right, of all the people, how they're affecting their livers and killing them, and alcoholics. And then it talks about how the Sahabi who was leading Salah when he was drunk and he made mistakes. أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. You worship my God and I worship your idols. He forgot Allah because he was under the influence. Driving under the influence, DUI, and there's this imamat under the influence. So that was prohibited. لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى. Don't come near the prayer when you are intoxicated. حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. Until you know what you are saying. So now we know, we have the knowledge of the wisdom behind the ruling because of the benefit of the Sabab al-Nuzul. And there's benefits for believers and non-believers. Allama Qastalani, he mentions that there's a benefit for the believer and the non-believer. As for the believer, يَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. They already had iman and now their iman increases further. And they will have further motivation to obey the order of Allah Ta'ala, to make amal on His kitab, because they see the benefits, the masalih, the benefits behind these ahkam and rulings, due to which this ayah was revealed. That's the benefit for the believer. وَأَمَّا الْكَافِرُ, as far as the disbeliever is concerned, then when he sees the beautiful wisdom and so many beautiful signs and stories behind the revelation of the ayat, this will lead him towards iman and to accept Islam. In kana munsifa, if he has insaf meaning if he is fair-minded. If he is fair-minded, if he is not bent upon denial, he will have no recourse but to accept Islam. Fi ayatum bayyana, Allah Ta'ala mentions there are clear evident signs. وَمَا يَجْحَدُ بِآيَاتِنَا إِلَّا الظَّالِمُونَ. Nobody can reject the ayat of Quran except for those who are bent upon dhulm and they don't want to accept. Kufr of juhud, meaning they're bent upon denial. Right? So this is one benefit. Another benefit is that it says that al-isti'ana ala fahm al-ayah wa daf'i al-ishkal anha. That this will help us in understanding the ayah and to remove any ambiguities or objections surrounding it. Daf'i al-ishkal. If there's any ishkal, if there's any objection about the ayah, then those objections can be removed. There's 2 quotes here. This is basically translation. There we have Al-Qari Al-Muqri, our Sheikh, he put it up. Mahir Al-Habashi. So he said, he quotes Al-Wahidi, that لا يمكن معرفة تفسير الآية دون الوقوف على قصتها وبيان نزولها. That it is not possible. Wahidi, he wrote a whole book on Asbab al-Nuzul, one of the earlier ones, and it's well known. There are many masahif that are printed with the Asbab al-Nuzul of Wahidi on the hamish, on the sides, as footnotes or side notes. It's head notes too, because on the top, then head note, side note, footnote, all around. Okay, so this is in English we don't have notes on the top and the side, right? We just have on the bottom. But in Arabic you have all around. So what does Wahidi say? He says that لا يمكن معرفة تفسير الآية. It is not possible to understand the interpretation of an ayah without knowing the story and the reason for its revelation, because that's what he focused on, and he wrote a whole book on it. Likewise, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi says, معرفة سبب النزول يعين على فهم الآية. Knowing the reason for the revelation will aid in understanding the verse. فإن العلم بالسبب يورث العلم بالمسبب. Because if you have the knowledge of the cause, that will lead to knowledge of the effect. If you know the cause, then you will appreciate the effect. Okay. We give some examples. This is number 3. Okay, is that what is this? No, we have 3 examples. We have 3 examples of this. First one is from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 115. Or وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. To Allah belongs the east and the west, and فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا, wherever you face, right? فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا, wherever you turn, فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ, then you are facing towards Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ, Allah is all-encompassing and all-knowing. So there could be a potential misunderstanding here. At a cursory glance, one may think, oh, wow, any direction you face, it should be okay, because Allah Ta'ala says, wherever you turn, you are facing towards Allah. And we are commanded to perform salah, we are praying towards Allah Ta'ala, so can we face in any direction? So this is a really beautiful example that Allama Qastalani or Zurqani, I've been saying Qastalani the whole time, Zurqani rahmatullah alayhi. See, Zurqani and Qastalani, they're together when it comes to, what's his name? The other book, Mawahib al-Ladunniya. You have Mawahib al-Ladunniya bil-Minah al-Muhammadiyya, and the Sharh Mawahib al-Ladunniya. So Mawahib al-Ladunniya is written by Qastalani, and then you have Hashiyat al-Zurqani. So that's why the two names are together over there. Anyway, so I just recall his name is actually Muhammad Abdul Azim al-Zurqani. So he gave this beautiful example of a misunderstanding. He says that if you read this ayah, you would think you could face any direction. But the real reason of the revelation, if you study the Safa and Marwah, this will provide the clarification. We'll understand. There's a hadith of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma. So today I actually brought another book. This is Lubab al-Nuqul fi Asbab al-Nuzūl lil Imam al-Suyuti. Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullah alayh. He wrote his book, Lubab al-Nuqul fi Asbab al-Nuzūl. The essence, the lubab is the crux of the matter. It is the actual essence of something. Of all those narrations, nuqul, pertaining to Asbab al-Nuzūl. And he goes in a chronological order from Surah Fatiha to Nas, wherever there are a hadith regarding why an ayah was revealed. So over here, he mentions a few stories. There's one of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma that tells us why this ayah was revealed. He says, أخرج مسلم والترمذي والنسائي عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي على راحلته تطوعا أينما توجهت به. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would perform his salah, nafal prayer, on his camel, whichever direction the camel was going. وهو آت من مكة إلى المدينة. While Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was traveling, from Makkah to Medina. Right. ثم قرأ ابن عمر ولله المشرق والمغرب فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله وقال في هذا نزلت هذه الآية. Then Abdullah ibn Umar recited this ayah and said, this ayah is regarding this incident. So what happens in this incident is that there are a couple of conditions. Number one is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not in Medina, he's not in Makkah. He is atin min Makkah ila Medina. He is traveling from Makkah to Medina. So we know that the permissibility of performing salah in any direction is contingent upon a person traveling. And then another thing is that when you're traveling, you could stop on the way at a rest area, a rest stop. Then you're standing on the ground. He's not on the ground. He's ala rahilati. He's on his camel. Number two. The third condition we learn is that he is performing nafal salah. Yusalli tatawwa'an. He's performing nafal salah. So, if these three conditions are met, then we can make amal on this ayah and we can perform our salah in any direction. So if we are in our city or any city, and irrespective of whether you're on a car or on ground, you cannot, standing on the ground or sitting on the ground, you cannot perform in any direction. You have to face the Qiblah. Because there's a command of Allah, فَوَلِّ وَجْهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. When you perform salah, face Masjid al-Haram. That's the Qiblah. If you are in any city, not in your own city, because you'll say, oh, if I'm traveling, no. If you are in any city, you have to face the Qiblah. And so if you are traveling, and if you're traveling and you stop and praying on the ground, again, you have to face the Qiblah. If you're traveling and you're on a conveyance, whether it's a car or a camel or a plane or a ship or a train, when you want to perform farad salah, you can't pray in any direction because it's farad salah. It has to be a nafal salah, tatawwa'an. So if it's a nafal, all three conditions are met. Nafal prayer, traveling, outside a city, and on a mode of conveyance. If these three conditions are fulfilled, then this ayah applies. The only reason we can determine that is because of the hadith of Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhuma. وأخرج الحاكم عنه قال أنزلت فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله أن تصلي حيثما توجهت بك راحلتك في التطوع. Again, another hadith is same thing, shows that you can perform the nafal prayer on your camel outside the city in any direction. So this is the most sahih narration about the Safa and Nuzul. We also covered that it is very much possible that there are multiple different incidents that lead to the revelation of one ayah. And that could be because the ayah is revealed, even if it's revealed one time, there are multiple stories that lead to it. And there is also the concept of the same ayah being revealed multiple times. Meaning one incident occurred, it was revealed, then it was revealed again, the same ayah. Ulum al-Quran, it only mentions this one story, but there are, mashallah, many other incidents mentioned by Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullah alayhi. Another one, فأخرج ابن جرير بن أبي حاتم من طريق علي بن أبي طلحة عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما. The hadith of Ibn Umar, we got it. It's about the travel. There's a hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas. There's a benefit in here too. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما هاجر إلى المدينة. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he migrated to Medina Munawwara, أمره الله أن يستقبل بيت المقدس. First, for 16 months, Allah Ta'ala commanded Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to continue to perform salah facing Baytul Maqdis, facing Jerusalem, Masjid al-Aqsa. The Qibla of, both are Qibla of Ibrahim. Ibrahim and Ismail built the Kaaba, and Ibrahim and Ishaq, alayhimus salam, all of the prophets. Ibrahim with his one son, Ismail alayhimus salam, built the Kaaba in Makkah, and Ibrahim and Ishaq alayhimus salam built the Baytul Maqdis in Jerusalem. The same father with the two sons. One is the son of Hajar alayhi salam, one is the son of Sarah alayhi salam. So, the Qibla of Ishaq, and the Qibla of Yaqub, and the Qibla of Yusuf, the Qibla of the Banu Israel, to face it for 16 months. فَفَرِحَتِ الْيَهُودِ, the Jews were happy. فَاسْتَقْبَلَهَا بِضَعْةَ عَشْرَ شَهْرًا, 16 months. وَكَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يُحِبُّ قِبْلَةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ, قِبْلَةَ Ismail bin Ibrahim. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his personal preference, his desire was to pray towards Kaaba in Makkah. That's why Allah Ta'ala says, فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا. Now I'll grant you the Qibla that you like, O Nabi. So, فَكَانَ يَدْعُو وَيَنْظُرُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. He was making dua to Allah, oh Allah, grant me the Qibla that I want, and he was looking up to that sky. Allah Ta'ala refers to looking up to the sky in Surah Al-Baqarah. قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. I see how, O my Nabi, you keep on looking up to the sky. Now be pleased to hear that I will give you the Qibla that you like. So when the ayah was revealed, فَوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ شَطْرًا فَارْتَابَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الْيَهُودِ. When this ayah was revealed, the Yahud became very doubtful, and they said, what's going on? قَالُوا مَا وَلَّاهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمُ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. They said, why are these people changing the Qibla that they were on? They were facing one side, now they're facing the other side. So Allah Ta'ala revealed this ayah. that قُلْ لِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. To Allah belongs the east, the west, the north and south. Baytul Maqdis was north and Makkah was south. You're worried about north and south, even the east and west. It doesn't make a difference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And actually, the Qibla is not that we're facing the Qibla because, na'udhu billah, we're, like people, mushrikun worship idols, and then they face a particular idol. The Qiblah by its nature means the direction of our salah. Just like if we are, the Kaaba is the Baytullah and it is the Qiblah for the Muslimun. There are different levels of the Qiblah. If you are there in the mataf, then when you make sajda, the line from your sajda, it has to hit the wall of the Kaaba. Otherwise your Qiblah is incorrect. Because you cannot make an error where if you make a straight line from where you're making sajda, if it misses the Kaaba, your salah will not count. That's the first Qiblah. And then if you are in the city of Makkah, your Qiblah is the Masjid al-Haram, any wall of the Masjid al-Haram, the entire masjid, which is a huge campus. And if you're outside Makkah, then when you make a sajda, you should hit the city of Makkah. You don't have to have a degree in mathematics to know, if you remember from when we used to, in geometry in school, that the degrees and the minutes. So the farther distance you are from Makkah, the slightest, if you diverge from maybe even less than a millimeter away, then you potentially could miss the Kaaba, because the Kaaba is so far off, degrees and minutes and seconds off. If you're just a couple seconds off, maybe you would miss the Kaaba. It would be, imagine if you all the way here from Lombard 60148 area code, if it was farad that if you draw a line from where you're making sajda, it has to go and intersect with the wall of the Kaaba, how difficult that would have been. So the Qibla is if you hit the city of Makkah. And subhanAllah, if you take it further off, if you're in a space station or you're on the moon or Mars, then the Qibla would be the whole planet Earth, right? And if you are lost in the jungle and you don't know what the Qibla is, as the hadith are coming, then the Qibla is that you make tahari. You think in your heart, which direction could the Kaaba possibly be? In whichever direction your heart feels that I feel that this is the right way, you pray that way, your salah will count. That is your Qibla. And the dalil of it is that afterwards, if you find out it was incorrect, you do not have to repeat it. So one Hindu Pandit, he came to Ashraf Ali Thani, rahmatullahi alayhi, Mawlana Ashraf Thani, Hakim al-Ummat, and said that you say if you worship the idols, then you also, Hindu priest said, you also worship the Kaaba. It's also stone. He said, absolutely not. It's just a direction we face. And he gave a couple differences. This is called like ilzami jawab, meaning he showed that the fariq, what is the differences, the fawariq here, rather. So he said, look, can you, if you're worshipping an idol, if the idol is not there, if it's stolen, if it's moved, like the Somnath temple, the idol was broken and taken by Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi, rahmatullahi alayhi. So can you continue worshipping the idol when it's not there? He said, no, if the idol is not there, you can't worship it. You can't do puja of an idol that's not there. He said, if the walls of the Kaaba are taken out for the rehabbing, the construction, then the tawaf will continue, the salah will continue. We're not worshipping the stones, right? If you take the stones in the Kaaba and you recreate it somewhere else, like they have a fake Eiffel Tower from Paris in Dubai, and they have the fake, all the Empire State Building, and they fake this one and fake everything. So if they take you want to create a Kaaba in Dubai, fake islands and fake, it's like everything's artificial. So if they have a fake Kaaba, they take all the bricks of the Kaaba and the actual Kaaba, maybe it was there for 500 years, and you recreate it. Can you make tawaf there? Can you perform salah there? No, because it's not the stones, it's the direction. And he also said that, can you worship your idol standing on top of it, on its head? Absolutely not, because part of ibadah is غاية التذلل أمام المعبود مع عقيدة التصرف الغيبي له. When you humble yourself in front of the object of your worship and you believe that the object of your worship has supernatural powers to fulfill your needs. So that's ibadah. So you are not going to do that to an idol by standing on its head. He said you can perform salah on the roof of the Kaaba. In which direction? Any direction. Any direction from inside the Kaaba or on top of the roof of the Kaaba. And then he also said that part of ibadah is that you praise your ma'bud. And from the beginning of salah to the end, we're saying Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbil Azim, Subhana Rabbil A'la. We're not praising the Kaaba. Oh, beautiful black enshrouded home or something, house. Right? So we're not praising how holy art thou, right? So now, there's nothing like that. So there is no praise of the Kaaba, it's praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're not worshipping the Kaaba, that's the direction. And then, there were some other hadith, subhanAllah. So the Yahud, there's another beautiful story. The Yahud were saying, hey, why are you facing north and turn south? Hey, it doesn't make a difference. We're facing the direction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Everyone in the entire world, they are facing one direction. So it's unity in our direction of the ummah. And that's where the rahmat and barakat from the arsh to the kursi, to the lawh al-mahfuz, and through the Bayt al-Ma'mur comes upon the Kaaba. Inna awwala baytin wudi'a lin-nasi lalladhi bi Bakkata mubarakan wa hudan lil-alamin. Source of barakah and hidayah for the whole world. And then وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ, all the mihrabs throughout the world of the masajid, they're all facing the Kaaba, so they're catching the barakat and hidayah. And if our home is connected to the masjid, then we're in the network of hidayah and barakah. And if we're not connected to the masjid, then we're not getting the nur and hidayah to our own home. We may have all of the beautiful fixtures, but if you're not connected to the network, then we will not have the light, the nur coming. So going on, another story here is فَخْرَجَ التِّرْمِذِي, right? وابن ماجه والدارقطني من طريق أشعث بن أنا عاصم ابن عبد الله بن عامر. Okay, the whole sanad is here. قال كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في سفر. We were traveling with Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم in a journey. Heads up, this is a different story now. في ليلة مظلمة. It was a dark night. فلم ندري أين القبلة. We did not know which direction is the Qiblah. It's dark meaning, hey, which night is not dark? What they meant is that nights were not always dark because they didn't have artificial illumination. So the moon would be very, very bright. So it would be like quite bright. You could see a lot of things. The level of visibility would have been quite strange for us to imagine, because that's how powerful the moon would be in a desert landscape. Or the stars. If the moon is not there, the stars would be there. وَعَلَامَاتْ وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. To the stars they would be guided. Now they didn't have the stars, the constellations, they didn't have the moon. Where did they all go? It was covered with a cloud, right? So it was a dark night because it was covered with the clouds. فَلَمْ نَدْرِ أَيْنَ الْقِبْلَةِ. We didn't know where is the Qiblah. فَصَلَّى كُلُّ رَجُلٍ مِنَّا عَلَى حِيَالِهِ. Everybody prayed according to the direction they felt was correct. فلما أصبحنا ذكرنا ذلك لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فنزلت فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله. Then in the morning we asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said that whichever direction you face, this is the ayah. And there is another one, and where subhanallah you can see the barakah of the ijtihad. Everybody does their own ijtihad and they're all correct. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved them. بعث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سرية كنت فيها. This is Jabir radiallahu anhu says Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Sahaba for a campaign. Ghazwa is when the Prophet ﷺ himself participates, and Sariyah is when he sent the Sahaba. And so this was a Sariyah, it was an expedition of Sahaba. And he was amongst them, Jabir ibn Abdullah. فَأَصَابَتْنَا ظُلْمًا فَلَمْ نَعْرِفِ الْقِبْلَةِ. Again, it was very dark and we didn't know the Qibla. قَالَ طَائِفَةٌ مِنَّا قَدْ عَرَفْنَا الْقِبْلَةِ هِيَ هَا هُنَا قِبْلَ الشِّمَالِ. One group said, hey, we know where it is. It's the Shimal, is north side. So what did they do? وَخَطُّوا خُطُوطًا. They drew the lines in the sand. They said, this is the Saf, let's pray this way. قال بعضنا, no, القبلة ها هنا قبل الجنوب. The others said, no, the Qibla is facing the south side. Right? They made their lines. فصلوا وخطوا خطوطا فلما أصبحوا وطلعت الشمس أصبحت تلك الخطوط لغير القبلة. When the sun rose in the morning, because then they determined the east, because now they know where the sun rose, that's the east. They figured out that they were all praying in the wrong directions. فَلَمَّا قَفَلْنَا مِنْ سَفَرِنَا. When we came back from our journey, we asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَسَكَتَ, and he was quiet. He didn't, until Allah revealed the ayah, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Any direction you face. Why? Because they didn't know. As I said, remember the fuqaha mentioned the different qibla. If you're by the Kaaba, or you must face it, or Masjid Haram within the city, or the city within the country, within the world, or the planet, within the galaxies. So, and any direction your heart feels when you are traveling. Another one is very similar, but the difference here is that it was fog. It wasn't clouds, it was actual fog. And because of the fog, they couldn't tell. Meaning, even in the daytime, if it's extreme fog, you have no idea where the sun is on the horizon. And the last one I have here is وَأَخْرَجَ ابْنُ جَرِيرٍ عَنْ قَتَادَةَ أَنَّ النَّبِيَّ صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إِنَّ أَخًا لَكُمْ قَدْ مَاتَ. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us Sahaba, there's one brother of you who has died. This is also a very unique story. Which brother had died? in Bilad al-Habasha, Najashi, the king Najashi. فَصَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ. So let us perform Salatul Janazah for him. Salatul Janazah al-Ghaib, on the one who is not present. So this is the whole masala. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not perform it for all of the other Sahaba who passed away, even though they were so close to him. Like Ja'far bin Abi Talib, when he came back from Habasha, he had his first cousin, the older brother of Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anh, and he said that, "Oh Ja'far, I'm confused. Am I more happy on the Fatih Khaybar, stronghold of the Yahud, or I'm more happy you came back?" That's how happy he was. But when he passed away shortly afterward in Mu'tah, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was crying, and he went to his home and he hugged his children, and he said that your father has become shaheed. One hand was cut holding the flag, then second hand was cut holding the flag, then he was holding with his bleeding arms, moving forward, and then he was cut in half. Ja'far bin Abi Talib. I had the opportunity to visit back in my student days in like 1993 or 94. We had gone to Mu'tah in Jordan, and it was in Ramadan time. We got there at the time of Maghrib, and we went to the grave. There's three main graves of the three leaders. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made the leader of that army Zayd, who was known as Zayd ibn Muhammad, Zayd ibn Haritha, his former adopted son. And then he said that he will be the Amir, but if he becomes Shaheed, then you should make Ja'far bin Abi Talib your Amir. And if he becomes Shaheed, then Abdullah bin Rawaha, Sha'ir al-Rasul, al-Ansari. And if he becomes Shaheed, then select one of you to become the Amir. So then there was a Yehudi there, Jew. He said, all three shall die. Right? So he said, this is how the previous prophets used to prophesize. يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم. They knew he was a messenger, just like a father knows that this is my son. So they had all the signs. He said, look, the previous prophets, this is how they used to speak. Why is he giving us, if this one dies, then this one is not something theoretical. This is going to happen. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was given the knowledge. So exactly, they all three became shaheed, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had the pain. He loved all of them. And then who did they select after that? A new convert who just accepted Islam. But he was a very able general. His name was Khalid ibn Walid. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was in Medina. He said, okay, I see, Allah Ta'ala showed him, I see Zayd radiallahu anhu is being cut down, I see Ja'far bin Abi Talib, and I see Abdullah bin Rawaha. Then he said, oh, now the Sayfullah has come forward. The sword of Allah. He had just accepted Islam recently. So he didn't do Salatul Janazah al-Ghaib on any of them. That's what I was trying to say. Nor did Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali do Khulafa al-Rashidun. Only Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did for Najashi. And at that time he said that the curtains have been removed and I see his body in front of me. The hijab has been removed. So that's why this is considered a khususiyah of Rasulullah and a khususiyah, special thing of Najashi as the king of Abyssinia, according to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. And Imam Shafi and Ahmed, they take the Sahih Hadith that he did it, so therefore we can do it as well. So both opinions are there. Those Imams who take it, they take it from the Sahih Hadith. Did the Prophet ﷺ do the janazah of ghaib without the body of Najashi? Absolutely. No denial of it. The question is that practice for everyone to do or not? That's where there's two opinions. And mashallah, kilahuma hulf. They're both beautiful. One is the Shafi and Ahmad, they say that since he did it, we should do it. And the Shaykhain, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik, they say that we don't see him doing it with others, and we don't see the Khulafa al-Rashidun doing it. So perhaps that was a khususiyah. That was something specific. Because he also said, I can see the body. So if there's anyone else that, you can see the body, maybe we can think about it. Right? But, okay. Anyway, so that's what it is. Why was I mentioning this? Is because over here, he says, look, inna akhan lakum qad mat. Your brother has died. Fasallu alayh. So let's perform janazah for him. So the Sahaba and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't go to Africa. They were performing it where? In Medina. قالوا نصلي على رجل ليس بمسلم قال فنزلت وإن من أهل الكتاب لمن يؤمن بالله الآية فقالوا إنه كان لا يصلي إلى القبلة فأنزل الله ولله المشرق والمغرب الآية. So this is another narration. So they said, Ya Rasulullah, we should perform salah on a man who is not even a Muslim. So then the ayah was revealed, look, وَإِنَّ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ some of the Ahlul Kitab, they have accepted Islam. So when the same Ja'far bin Abi Talib was there, the one whose arms were cut, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Ja'far is Tayyar. That's why he has a title, Tayyar. Allah has granted him two wings, he will be flying in Jannah. as he sacrificed his arms in fi sabilillah. He was the spokesman, and he spoke to Najashi. You know that long story from Sirah, when Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu was on the mushrikeen side. He came from Quraysh to the Najashi and said that these are rebels from our country, have taken refuge in your land, and they're going to create fitna. So Najashi called the Sahaba and said, why are you here? So Ja'far bin Abi Talib gave that very famous speech in front of Najashi, and he invited him towards Islam, explained what Islam is. So he said, this is exactly what our Nabi Isa alayhi salam used to preach. Then they said, look, he did not perform salah towards the Qiblah. Then this ayah was revealed. Because he did not have all the detailed knowledge of the deen. He accepted Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he accepted Allah ta'ala. First, of course, amantu billah, and he accepted malaika and kutub wa rasul. He did not have the detailed knowledge of how to perform salah. So how is the salah accepted? His ibadah. Then this ayah was revealed. So there are so many beautiful benefits of the Asbab al-Nuzūl. So this ayah has so much more meaning. And if you didn't know any of these stories, we would say, hey, any direction you face is good to go. Particularly in this day and age when everybody is going for that which is easy and convenient. Another example here is Marwan ibn al-Hakam from the Banu Umayyah. He had some confusion regarding this ayah. لا تحسبن الذين يفرحون بما أتوا يحبون أن يحمدوا بما لم يفعلوا فلا تحسبنهم بمفازة من العذاب ولهم عذاب أليم. Allah Ta'ala says here, do not think of those people who are delighted with what they did. And they love to be praised for what they never did. They didn't do something, and they like if they get the praise for it. Do not think that they are secure from the adhab of Allah Ta'ala. بِمَفَازَةٍ مِّنَ الْعَذَابِ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. They have a painful torment. So what happened here is he was concerned about this. He had a concern. What was Marwan ibn al-Hakam's concern? He says here that, wait a second, who doesn't like to be praised? You know, anyone would like to get praised. Does that mean that we're going to be all punished? وروى ابن أبي حاتم وابن منذر بسند حسن عن ابن عباس. No, this is the one. Okay, روى الشيخان وغيرهما. Shaykhan, Abu Bukhari and Muslim, they narrate that إن مروان قال لبوابه. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, he told his guard. Bawab is the guard who's by the door. The Bab is door, the Bawab is the guard by the door. He said, اذهب يا رافع إلى ابن عباس. SubhanAllah, you have Abdullah ibn Abbas, you don't need artificial intelligence, you don't need chat GPT, right? You have Abdullah ibn Abbas, he's the Ra'isul Mufassirin, still around, radiallahu anhu, the leader of the scholars of tafsir. He said, go Rafi' to Abdullah ibn Abbas and ask him, لئن كان كل امرئ منا فرح بما أوتي وأحب أن يحمد بما لم يفعل معذبا لنعذبن أجمعون. He said, look, go ask him if every person who gets happy what he's granted, and if he ends up getting praised for something he didn't do, if they're going to be tormented, if they're going to face adhab, لنعذبن أجمعون. We're all going to face adhab. What does this ayah mean? Who is this about? So Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu, we talked about him before, right? That he had the knowledge of tafsir through the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Ma lakum wa hadhi." Why are you worried about this? You don't know what this ayah is about? إنما نزلت هذه الآية في أهل الكتاب. This ayah was revealed about a particular group of the Christians. سأله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن شيء. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was discussing with them, and he asked them about something. فكتموه إياه. Then they hid that from the Prophet. They didn't give the proper response. وأخبروه بغيره. They gave him the wrong answer. Then what happened? They thought they had tricked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فخرجوا, and they came out of there, and they thought that they had fooled Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam thinks he got the right answer, and that واستحمدوا بذلك. They thought that they're going to deserve praise. وفرحوا بما أتوا من كتمان ما سألهم عنه. They were very happy that, hey, we have hidden the true knowledge from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is one narration. This is what this ayah is about. They're delighted what they did, and they love to be praised because there was a specific group of the Ahlul Kitab. And another narration, again, multiple stories here. أخرج الشيخان عن أبي سعيد الخدري. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri narrates أن رجالا من المنافقين كانوا إذا خرج رسول الله للغزو وتخلفوا عنه وفرحوا بمقعدهم خلاف رسول الله. They were a group of hypocrites. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out في سبيل الله, in jihad في سبيل الله, they stayed back, And they were very, very happy by staying back and not participating. We covered this regarding the Battle of Tabuk, right? Battle of Tabuk. فَإِذَا قَدِمَ اعْتَذَرُوا إِلَيْهِ وَحَلَفُوا. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came back, they gave all kinds of excuses and they swore oaths. Remember, we talked about how Allah Ta'ala corrected Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. عَفَى اللَّهُ عَنْكَ لِمَا أَذِنْتَ لَهُمْ. Why did you forgive them? I mean, Allah Ta'ala starts off by saying, I have forgiven you. Why did you give them permission? Without doing due diligence about their stories. حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا. Until you know who is speaking the truth. وَتَعَلَمَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. You know who is lying. So they were lying. وَأَحَبُّوا أَن يُحْمَدُوا بِمَا لَمْ يَفْعَلُوا. They wanted to be praised for their actions that they never did. This is why this ayah was revealed. Okay. So these are the hypocrites. And a few more stories on that one, but we want to move on. And last one for tonight, I believe, yes, is this one. Misunderstanding of Urwa ibn Zubayr regarding the obligation of sa'i through the hadith of Aisha is removed. See, this is another ayah. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'airillah. That verily Safa and Marwah, anybody has done Umrah or Hajj, you may have been reciting this ayah while you're doing sa'i, so it may be familiar for you. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'airillah. Verily the hills of Safa and Marwah, they're amongst the signs of Allah. Sha'airillah. What's a sign of Allah? Something that reminds us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَن يَعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Whoever shows reverence to the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a sign that they have taqwa in their hearts. So Allah ta'ala says, فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اِعْتَمَرَ. Whoever performs Hajj or does Umrah, okay? The whole misunderstanding of Urwa ibn Zubayr. Urwa ibn Zubayr is beautiful biography of him, but in short, is that he comes from a very high pedigree, beautiful lineage. His father, Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, is the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and one of the Ashara Mubashara bil Jannah, one of the 10 Sahaba guaranteed Jannah. One of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, every Nabi will have a Hawari fil Jannah, and my Hawari, my beautiful friend who will be supporting me in the dunya and will be with me in the akhirah in Jannah is Zubayr. So his cousin Zubayr bin Awam, but his mother, Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, was the Amma, was the Pupi, was the paternal aunt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's a cousin from his mother of Rasulullah. That's Zubayr radiallahu anhu, the father of Urwa. And his mother is Asma bint Abi Bakr. Asma bint Abi Bakr, the older sister of Aisha bint Abi Bakr. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, first Khalifa of Rasulullah, best friend of Rasulullah, the Rafiq in the Ghar and the Rafiq in the grave. Companion of the grave and companion in the cave. Companion of the cave and grave, subhanAllah. I didn't think about that, right? It actually ends up rhyming. Okay, and so he was his nana, was his maternal grandfather. And his mother is Zatun Nitaqain, the one who tore up her belt to tie up the zad of the safar, the provisions for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hijrah, when her father and Rasulullah were going for hijrah. Zatun Nitaqain, Usma radiallahu anha. And the reason I wanted to mention it is because Urwa bin Zubayr, as the students of hadith all know this, he narrates a lot from Aisha radiallahu anha. Why he narrates from Aisha radiallahu anha? It's because he had exclusive access. We covered this ayah, remember? وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. When you ask the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for anything, whether it's food or knowledge, you have to ask them from behind the curtain. But Urwa bin Zubayr did not have to ask from behind the curtain, because Aisha radiallahu anha is his khala. His mother is Asma bint Abi Bakr, and Aisha radiallahu anha is khala, meaning maternal aunt. So the Aisha radiallahu anha's knowledge was transmitted a lot through her nephews. So you have Qasim bin Muhammad bin Abi Bakr. That's Batija, that's her brother's son, Qasim bin Muhammad bin Abi Bakr. And this one is her bhanja, her sister's son. So her nephews, they carried their ilm. They became the Fuqaha al-Madinah. Anyway, so that's who Urwa ibn Zubayr is. He had his misunderstanding. The misunderstanding came from this word. Whoever does Hajj and does Umrah, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ. There is no sin upon him. It's actually missing the translation, that part. It was, the translator didn't want anyone to get confused, so he didn't even translate it literally. But this part here is فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ means there's no sin upon him. We have to focus on it. That's the whole point of the misunderstanding. Urwa bin Zubayr is not any Joe, right? He's a great scholar. his older brother is well known, Abdullah bin Zubair. He's a Sahabi. He was born later, so he's not a Sahabi. He got confused because of this word, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ. There is no sin upon him. أَن يَطَوَّفَ بِهِمَا. If you go and you walk between the two hills. وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا. Whoever does so willingly, Allah is truly appreciative. شَاكِرٌ عَلِيمٌ. And that's all knowing. So he got confused. When he saw this word, فَلَا جُنَاحَ, there's no sin. When do you typically use such a word? You'll say that, if somebody says, oh, like wine is haram and it comes from grapes, so, maybe grape juice is haram because he has a doubt about it. So you'll say, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكَ. This is sparkling grape juice. It comes in a bottle like this. Yeah, typically you shouldn't drink in bottles that look like wine bottles, but this is actually sparkling red grape juice, not red wine. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكَ. Right, and tashrab hada. There's no sin upon you. You can drink this. It is grape juice and it's sparkling too, it's bubbly, but it's not champagne, right? So if there's something that's doubt, so does it mean you must do it? Like you better drink the sparkling grape juice, otherwise your umrah is incomplete. Absolutely not. That's not even farad to drink zamzam. So this wording, like why did Allah Ta'ala say fala junaha? So he came to the conclusion that it's permissible, you don't have to do it. So he asked his khala. If you have any confusion, ask your khala, right? If your khala is Aisha radhiyallahu anha, for sure. So what did he say? Al khala to be manzilat al right? Anyway, he said, قالت قلت لعائشة. I asked my khala Aisha radhiyallahu anha, زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, أرأيت قول الله? Oh my khala, do you know this ayah? إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت ويعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما. So he says, there should be no problem, right? If somebody misses their sa'i, their umrah should be complete, the hajj should be complete. Because Allah Ta'ala said, فَلَا جُنَاحَ. So she did not hold back. She's talking to her nephew. So she said straight up, بِئْسَ مَا خُلْتَ يَبْنَ أُخْتِي. Oh my nephew, oh the son of my sister, this is so wrong. What are you saying? How can you reach this? What kind of understanding is this? إنها لو كانت على ما أولتها عليه كانت فلا جناح عليه ألا يطوف بهما. If the way you are interpreting it, she told her nephew, then the ayah should have been فلا جناح عليه, there is no sin upon him ألا يطوف. If he does not do tawaf. If he does not do tawaf, there is no sin upon him. But Allah Ta'ala says there is no sin upon him if he does tawaf. That means people thought it was sinful. Just like people may have think, oh, this grape juice, I gave the example, is sinful. Why did they even think it was sinful? Because you don't know the Safa and Marwah. This, mashallah, as I said, his older brother, Abdullah bin Zubair, actually he didn't know much shirk either. Because he was the first son born in Medina. If you have like an extended family, mashallah, like, my grandfather, they were, from one mother, there were 7 brothers and 7 sisters. 14, mashallah, exactly equal. That's ones that survived. Now how many infant mortality, I don't know. But for 14. So from the 14 siblings, like the first of the 14 siblings, now each of them, they don't have 14 kids, but they may have like 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first of the 14, when he has the first son, right, he's the first of the next generation. He's the first grandson. He becomes really famous within the family. Everybody knows the first grandson. Like all the uncles and aunts will know that one. And after that, then the second, third. Imagine you have 14 siblings and all of them having so many kids. Who's going to keep track of them? There's so many. It's a boy, it's a girl. At this point, it doesn't really matter anymore. Astaghfirullah. But there's so many. If the parents can keep track of their own kids, good enough. But then you can't remember all the nephews and nieces, right? There's so many. So the first cousin, he just gets a lot of attention. He gets attention within his own home because he's the firstborn, but then within the whole, like, Qabila, within the tribe, within the siblings, he's really a well-known cousin. So it's like that. When the Muhajirun came to Medina, in the beginning, just so happened for some time that the Muhajirun did not have any kids. And there were a few miscarriages, there were a few children dying. So this was a really ridiculous thing that the Yahud came up with because they were going to be proven wrong. I think sometimes these prophecies that people do, they don't realize that they're going to be proven wrong so soon. Like all of those people I remember in 2000, Y2K, they were saying that it's going to be the end of the world. I used to think, even as a student, I would be like, it's not going to be the end of the world because we have all the Ashratu Sa'ab, Dajjal hasn't come, Mahdi and Fulan, all of the Ya'juj Ma'juj. It's not going to be the end of the world. I was then worried in 1999. that it's going to be the end of the world. But some people were worried, I remember. So I was in Mishkat here and studying in Hadith. And I was like, okay, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I was thinking all of these cult leaders who are preaching to their people that in January 1st, year 2000 is going to be the end of the world. Like, how are they going to face the people the next day? They're going to have to hide their face because it's not going to be the end of the world. I used to think that. So similarly, these Yahud, I mean, if you want to come up with a fake prophecy, why don't you say, after your lifetime, the end of the world in Vision 2030, then, or something after you die, 2050. But why say 2000 and then how are you going to explain to your people? So same thing, the Yahud, they came up with such a stupid thing. They said, we have done a magical spell, a sahar, and none of these muhajirin are ever going to have any kids. That was a very foolish claim because they were proven wrong. The first baby that was born to the muhajir was Zubair ibn Awam, and Asma radiallahu anha had Abdullah bin Zubair. So he grew up in Medina too. But this Urwa bin Zubair even came later. So he never saw the shirk, mushrikun, he didn't know. So she says that, look, they were idols. They were idols on Safa, and they were idols on Mina. And in the Jahiliyyah, when we do Hajj, the people would go and worship those idols. So that was a reason why they started having allergy. They said, we cannot make sa'i because this is where we used to worship the idols. There was a huge idol by Safa and a huge idol by Mina, by Marwah. And they would go and touch the idol and worship the idol. So they said, oh, there must be a sin in doing this. Then on top of that, those were different idols. But then the Aus and Khazraj from Medina, she says, لأن الأنصار قبل أن يسلموا كانوا يهلون لمنات الطاغية. They used to worship another idol, the Ansar, which is called Manat. And وكان من أهل لها يتحرج أن يطوف بالصفا والمروة. So they used to say, we're not going to do tawaf. Even in Jahiliyyah, they wouldn't go by Safa and Marwah because these were different idols. These are not our idols. So now, when Islam came, فَسَأَلُوا عَنْ ذَلِكَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. They asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should we do? فَقَالُوا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ إِنَّا كُنَّا نَتَحَرَّجُ أَن نَطُوفَ بِالصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةِ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. In the Jahiliyyah, we didn't go and make sa'i between Safa and Marwah because of these other idols. They were not our idols. Should we do sa'i or should we not do sa'i? فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, Allah Ta'ala said, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ وَاعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ. There's no sin if you do tawaf. Right? And there are more hadiths of the same. Right? So, another one is like, كَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. Right? They would put all of these idols, بَيْنَهُمَا أَصْنَامٌ لَهُمْ. Idols lined up between Safa and Marwah. فَلَمَّا جَاءَ الْإِسْلَامُ قَالَ الْمُسْلِمُونَ. The believers said after Islam, يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ لَا نَطُوفُ بَيْنَ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةِ. We don't want to make sa'i here. فَإِنَّهُ شَيْءٌ كُنَّا نَصْنَعُهُ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. This is something we used to do in Jahiliyyah. So those who used to worship the idols said, we don't want to do it because we used to worship idols here. The Ansar didn't want to do it because they never did it before also, because those are not our idols. So they had different reasons why they didn't want to do it. And now, فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ. Allah revealed this ayah. You see, subhanAllah, if you don't know the story, if you don't know what's going on, you can even be Urwa ibn Zubair. Your nana, your grandfather is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Your father is Zubair radiallahu anhu, Ashra Mubashara. And until your khala comes and tells you, you would be very much confused because you don't have the Asbāb al-Nuzūl. So this is a beautiful point for us to know that we have to learn the Asbāb al-Nuzūl, otherwise we will be lost. May Allah Ta'ala grant us tawfiq, grant us a correct understanding of the deen, and allow us to appreciate the beautiful wisdoms that Allah Ta'ala has shared with us in the Quran. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.